我希望大家如果有動議，有委員提出動議咧，就最好用書面提出動議，然後我哋就討論要唔要處理啦嚇，跟住就要投票係嘛？咁你喺6:9之前要提嗰個動議，個書面嘅動議 ，OK？ 然後我哋開會開到7:15，OK？ 好謝偉俊。
主席，首先容我道歉先，因為咧我就唔係向你本人道歉，不過向呢個會道歉。因為咧事實上咧，我只係希望咧明白到咧，就有時會嘅進行咧係需要秩序嘅。咁啊，主席你最應該清楚知道一樣嘢。我冇乜所謂嘅，你冇秩序。對咗我嘅時間，主席係我俾翻你，即係我要回應㗎嘛，大佬啊！你唔使回應住，我而家話俾你聽就係 ，OK？ 經常打斷人嘅話咧，我係興咁樣嘅，我俾人趕嘅 ，OK？ 一樣啫嘛。個主席會執行個裁決，會趕我走噶嘛？你而家喺度講呢啲嘢好無聊噶嘛？知唔知謝偉俊？係咪先？你用咗我咁你問問題，我用咗俾翻你，唔緊要，俾翻你。OK， 主席我35秒。有時咧，你咁樣打斷人咧，唔係淨係個時間問題，而係一個情緒問題。主席，包括官員又係，包括個別議員又係咧，呢種好唔公道。你中意做乜就做乜，但係你對人哋嗰陣時，你全冇呢種尊重嘅。主席，呢度冇人趕到我嘅。而家唔係講趕唔趕走問題，係講緊事實啊！咁你咪喺嘥時間喺度，大佬係咪？你只要容許我，你唔好駁我嘴，俾我講埋我講嘅。我梗駁你嘴，亂噏唔駁你嘴，咁做咩主席啊？我諗觀眾自有定論啦。不過我今日做嘅係我非常之唔中意做嘅嘢嚟。觀眾自有定論，你唔好講啦。你講正題啦，唔該你。我會講，你幫你唔好打斷我嗰陣時，我會講嘅，主席。葛輝先生咧，睇翻你嗰個上一次俾嘅口供咧，我哋有一個逐字本咧。如果你可以睇翻咧 page 10咧，of 個 transcript， 咁你就話咧，你就當然啦，我哋今日最主要都係決定，到最後都決定會唔會有個所謂嘅調查啦，特別係用我哋本會一個所謂 P&P 嘅程序啦。咁但係你 page 10度咧，你就話咧，你提議有個所謂嘅調查，包括係不論用何種方式嘅調查啦，你就話咧會到時咧希望會有機會咧係會 uncover 啲 documents 啦。係有啲文件咧，你可以咧係證明到有啲人講大話，甚至乎有啲人咧係刻意咧將一啲草稿咧係改咗咧嚟隱瞞事實嘅。你記得有你講緊呢啲説話啦。咁亦都提過咧，就話咧，因為由於呢啲證人而家唔喺晒度，有其他證人可能係需要嘅時候咧先會出現嘅。咁我想首先問一問葛輝先生你咧，就係而家政府就已經攞咗咁多文件出嚟咧，有冇啲乜嘢嘅基礎，你認為咧係可以鞏固到你嘅講法咧？就係話我哋需要再用時間，再用納稅人嘅錢咧，去做呢一個咁嘅調查咧。我希望你係俾啲比較具體啲嘅一啲嘅事實啦。第二咧就係話，除咗有一位人士，你認為係唔係政府公務員嚟嘅？不過我哋講咗好多説話，特別關於民建聯背後嘅一啲嘅政治利益嗰方面嘅嘢，除咗呢一位之外咧，有冇其他任何人你覺得係今日唔在場嘅，係會將來我哋如果有調查嘅話咧，會對呢件事咧係有重要嘅證供上嘅幫助咧
？Yes, I think there are two questions. One is about documents and one is about witnesses. I've only had these documents for a little over 24 hours, so I haven't had a chance to confirm what's in them. But let me say, I think there are some documents that are not in this bundle, that I haven't seen in this bundle, that might be of assistance to the panel or an inquiry. I think there are three things. One is the minute dated the 18th of August, the bundle contains two preliminary drafts of that minute. My recollection is that there was at least one other preliminary draft, but I'm not sure which actually was a draft of a minute that recommended giving the project to IPRO-A rather than collaboration. However, I'm not sure that any copies of that draft will have been retained. Secondly, there were quite a lot of internal exchanges that were related to how the progress should be reported to LegCo and what line to take should be made with the press, both around the time that collaboration was initiated and following the East Week article. I think there may well be some rather instructive insights to be drawn from comparing the various drafts and discussions about those things. And thirdly, I see that the bundle contains an early document from the ICAC Corruption Prevention Division, which was giving advice on the design of the RFP process. I'm given to understand, though I haven't seen it myself, there is subsequent correspondence from the ICAC Corruption Prevention Division giving some observations on the process as it turned out at the end. And I think that it would be of great assistance to the panel in an inquiry to see all the documents produced by the ICAC Corruption Prevention Division in relation to the ILSP. That's what I can say about documents. Of course, there may be documents of which I'm unaware that would also be useful that an inquiry might uncover, because an inquiry, of course, looks at documents, it talks to witnesses, and then it sees what else to do. In terms of witnesses, I'm not sure whether or not the administrative assistant to the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development was in any of the meetings. If he was, he might also be able to be a useful eyewitness. And of course, there are meetings in which I was not present, which again an inquiry might find the witnesses. And finally, the point I'll make is that in a panel meeting, we can see that the time given to witnesses to answer questions is very limited, and the time given to members to cross-examine witnesses is also limited. So in a situation like we have now, where there's a need to weigh the evidence and the credibility of the evidence given by different parties, an inquiry is a much better way of establishing who it is that's telling the truth.
我好簡單回應咧，其實今日大家睇到咧，政府攞出嚟嘅文件咧係成千以上嘅頁嘅文件，所以我哋係充分咧係積極去披露呢啲文件咧，配合咗委員會嘅工作。至於我諗今日出席嘅人士，主席你都睇到啦，其實咧係有關提過嘅同事咧，今日咧都有出席呢個會議。至於葛輝先生提到咧有其他文件，佢係例如係一啲嘅問答嘅，即係政府裏邊咧係表達我嘅立場裏邊預備咗一啲即係答問當如果傳媒問到嘅呢啲問題啦，我覺得呢啲咧其實咧亦都唔係有關今日我哋議題嘅內容，所以咧其實我哋呢啲文件咧已經充分咗披露咗我哋政府裏邊嘅有關嘅文件。多謝主席。
嗱，我哋而家就有委員咧就有個書面嘅動議嘅，咁我哋法律顧問喺度睇緊啦，係咪？咁我哋就要處理嗰樣嘢嘅。咁喺處理呢一個問題之前咧，梁劉友芬係最後一位發言，跟住我哋冇第二輪發言㗎啦。OK。
唔該，主席，我唔係你呢個委員會嘅委員，咁所以多謝俾我參與呢個討論。咁我亦都要申報一下咧，就係響90年代嘅 IPRO-A 咧。我都有參與佢哋嘅活動，亦都係大力鼓勵佢哋去社區做嗰個消除一啲嘅電腦嘅隔膜嘅。咁呢個我只係想申報一個咁樣。咁但係咪嗰陣時嘅 IPRO-A 就係而家 IPRO-A 我就唔知啦。不過我就想問呢。葛輝先生咧，佢作為即係一個咁專業嘅人士啦，尤其是佢應該都有幾十年喺呢個界別度咁耐啦。咁對於 IPRO-A 佢喺90年代嘅工作嗰個嘅即係姓名啊，我想知道佢知唔知嘅，即係佢有幾多嘅知道。因為當其時做所謂叫做喺社區度推動IT 即係消除隔膜呢樣嘢呢，我自己都係 IT 出身嘅，咁我覺得呢，就佢哋做咗好多嘅工作，但係我就冇聽見過，對唔住啊，冇聽見過社聯係嗰個時間係做呢啲工作嘅，嗰陣時係佢哋即係喺社區做係最多。我只係想問下葛輝先生對於呢一個嘅信息，佢係咪都同我一樣咁嘅見解，或者佢有咩其他嘅高見？有第二啲人係嗰個年代都已經好出名做呢啲工作咧咁。
I can't comment about back in the 90s, but I can say that I was well aware of IPRO-A's work in narrowing the digital divide.
How famous you know of, IPRO-A?
I didn't know much about IPRO-A before I joined the government.
All right. Okay, so maybe my information is wrong then, Mr. Godfrey. My information is that they were almost the very first one to start community, evacuating the IT divide.
That may well be the case. I wasn't that closely
Would you have
involved.
any other operator that might carry that fame?
I know
in your
IPRA
mind?
had done a lot of work on narrowing the digital divide. I knew also that Hong Kong CSS had done work in narrowing the digital divide. I knew that Caritas had done work in narrowing the digital divide in distributing PCs. There are a few organisations. Certainly IPRA was an organisation I have a great deal of respect for, particularly their work on narrowing the digital divide, as I do for Hong Kong CSS and others.
Yeah, the reason I ask is that, this whole dilemma is about you suspecting some of the government officials mentioning IPRA's name to you. All started from there. So it could be, I'm trying to place myself in their hands, in their position. If I were them, I could have also mentioned just by passing that name. And it's rather innocently, not necessarily creating a political whatever. Could it possibly that?
Yeah, I thank you for your question. I think you're quite right. An innocent mention of IPRA would not have caused me to think there was a political assignment. But the reasons I thought there was a political assignment was that there was much more than an innocent mentioning of IPRA. As I say, I was informed.
主席啊，介唔介意有啲成員好似我問問題咧，就中意咁樣笑，咁係咪我問得唔啱咧？即係我唔知係咪想俾啲咩 indication 俾我哋咧？係俾啲政治壓力係啊，我唔識講，對唔住啊。
I'm sorry, I think your question is perfectly appropriate. It's my place to say so. All I will say is I didn't gain the impression of a political assignment because of some innocent comments made by officials about IPRA. Certainly in the open meetings of the task force, the financial secretary clearly knew them very well and was very keen on them and told us to talk to them and so forth.
Yes.
But the communications that caused me to believe in a political assignment were much more explicit.
但係我想問咧，郭生咧係咪佢俾 IPRA 最高分啊？喺嗰個 selection 嗰度高半分咯嚇。咁但係點解佢會俾佢哋高分咧？即係你有個原因㗎嘛，唔係因為個 political assignment 啊。
Yeah, absolutely. My scoring for IPRA was I did my level best to make sure it wasn't influenced by political considerations. I thought IPRA had a stronger bid in terms of the business model that they intended to use in engaging with ISPs. I thought it was very innovative, and I thought it addressed some of the tricky business issues that could arise with a single sourcing approach. So I was very taken with IPRA's business model. I think that compared to other members of the evaluation panel, I'm someone who has a lot of business experience. I was probably better able to appreciate why it was that aspect of their bid was so strong, and that's why my conclusion was different from others.
Okay.